Jamie is here, right?
Hi, yes, I am.
Okay, let's highlight you, spotlight you. And Jamie is going to be talking about Generation V, Generation Vegan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Rao, for having me. And hi to all of you guys. Thank you for being here and sharing part of your Sunday with me. Today, I'm going to be talking about Generation Vegan, which is the organization that I work for, and tell you guys a little bit about effective activism, storytelling in our movement. And I'm going to pull up the presentation right now. So hopefully you'll let me know if you can see this. Share screen. Okay. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. Amazing. Awesome. So Generation Vegan is a nonprofit organization. And also today, I want to talk to you guys about how when it comes to activism, there's a place for each and every one of you. So the animals need us using our voices in many different ways. And while some people might not be comfortable going out into the streets protesting, there's so many other ways that you can help and get involved. So Generation Vegan, I started working there about a year ago, which is exciting. And we tend to focus a lot on the environment, health, and ethics. So those are kind of like the three main pillars when it comes to why I went vegan. And I really love Gen V because we offer a lot of support and guidance for people who are new to veganism that are trying to transition. And we also do a lot of really cool pressure campaigns that gets media attention. So also, if you guys have questions, be sure to save them at the end. I'll be happy to answer those. Just write them down and we'll definitely get to them. So a little bit about me, just so you know, kind of like my background and where I'm coming from. My name is Jamie Logan, and I'm a New York City-based animal rights activist. I work on all sorts of things from demonstrations, disruptions. I am probably most known for my YouTube channel, Jamie's Corner, or my coach fashion show, Disruption. And I am a film producer, so I've produced 6 films that have over 75 million views that tell stories in the animal rights movement. So before I started working at Gen V, I realized I was like, this would be the perfect match to work at an organization like Gen V because we focus a lot on telling stories. And I think stories, for a lot of us, it's relatable, right? When we think about what was it that made us go vegan, it was hearing other people's stories, relating to them, or hearing stories about animals and realizing that we didn't want to be the reason why they were suffering. So that's just a little bit of a background about me, and I'll kind of get into what I do at Gen V. So we are formally known, you might know us as $1 Million Vegan. That was what we were called originally. And we focused a lot on pressure campaigns. So we would offer £1 million or $1 million to high profile people such as Rishi Sunak, the Pope, even Trump. We most recently offered £1 million to Prince William for asking him to add a plant-based category to his Earthshot Prize. So I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that in a bit, but very exciting stuff that's going on. And we focus a lot on trying to get media attention to these pressing issues. So our goals really are to create lasting impact. Like we want to inspire people to change their lifestyle. And most importantly, we want them to take action as well. So there's a few key pillars, I think, when it comes to helping people make change. And the first one is educate. Education, I think, is key. I think it has a lot to do with how most of us went vegan. It's one of those things where it's like, the more you know, the further you run. Can you guys relate to that? I think it's super important to get education out there because the industries spend millions, billions of dollars marketing, false advertising, and putting lies out there. So we really need to educate people with the truth. So on this slide, we educate people about the environmental, ethical, personal, and public health benefits of adopting a plant-based lifestyle. And some of the ways that we do this is through social media, we do outreach, and of course, we do our pressure campaigns. Not only do we focus on education, but we also are a resource for new activists. We provide free nutritional guidance. We also are an organization that we help to get creators and get their videos seen. So we really want to be an organization that puts out information that then you guys can take the information and share it to reach your circles of people. So one thing that I really love about what Generation Vegan, what we do, is we offer 7-day and 30-day vegan challenges for the animals, planet, and health. And what's super cool about this is actually how I went vegan. So fast forward, I guess rewind 6 years ago. I was vegetarian for a couple of years after seeing Dominion, and a few other things had happened that led me to become vegetarian. And on January 1st of 2018, I was at a New Year's Eve party, and I was talking to this girl, and she asked me what my New Year's resolution was, and I didn't know. And she said, why don't you try Veganuary? It's a challenge that you try to go vegan for 30 days, and then you just have to pledge to do that. So I was like, oh, I could do 30 days without, dairy or eggs. And I think that these 7 or 30-day challenges are a really great way to kind of just open the door for people and just kind of let them scope it out. Because I think when you approach somebody with the idea that they have to go vegan forever and give up all their favorite foods forever, it can be overwhelming. So these challenges are a really great way to just get people's foot in the door and to let them see how great they're going to feel after taking these challenges. And also, they're going to learn a lot of information in the process. So we also focus a lot on direct action. And recently, we helped to rescue 950 buffaloes, which is super exciting. And we'll definitely be posting some more information about that soon. And we provide thousands of meals for soldiers in the Ukraine, vegan meals, of course. And we also provide vegan meals to schools in Kenya and the Congo. So I think, direct action is super important because we really want to be on the ground doing the hard work. And I sort of mentioned a little bit about our $1 million campaigns, but these pressure campaigns were always sure to get media on them. And so the $1 million vegan campaigns, they challenge the public and they really summon world leaders to act. We need world leaders to take responsibility and start to look at how beneficial a plant-based lifestyle and system is. Our planet cannot sustain a world of meat eaters. So we really need them to act and change. And if it takes £1 million to do that, then we are sure to figure out how to make that happen, right? So we, in the past, we challenged Pope Francis to fight climate change with diet change. So kind of tying two things together that he cares about. We also challenged the US President Trump to make America healthy again. And in the UK, we asked Rishi Sunak to support Plant-Based Britain. And most recently, I'll tell you guys a little bit about Earthshot Prize, since it was a really, really cool campaign that we recently worked on. So we, for a couple months, had been pressuring the Earthshot Prize to add a plant-based category because they're all for the environment. They're for helping clear the pollution in the air. They're trying to clean the waters, but nowhere do they mention anything about a plant-based food system, which is kind of absurd, So we come in and we're like, hey, Earthshot, let's add a plant-based category, because what that means is they have an award ceremony at the end of the year, and they will give $1 million to 5 different companies or organizations. And why not give them to plant-based companies or organizations that are fully living that truth and fully in their daily actions helping the environment, right? So Earthshot ended up nominating us so far as we can now nominate different organizations and companies to win one of the categories, which is very exciting. So we're still working on them, but they've definitely made progress in that, and they've heard our message very loud and clear. So some of our objectives, of course, is to get people to start thinking, and to really over time, we want to reach mainstream. You know, we don't want to just be an echo chamber in the vegan community, but we want to reach the people that are kind of low-hanging fruits, that are ready to hear the information, that just kind of need that extra push or a little bit more support. So we're active on pretty much every social platform. And what's really cool about Generation Vegan is we actually post our content in 6 different languages. So we're really reaching people globally. And currently we have over 1 million followers. And what's really cool is we have had a lot of challenge signups, as you can see. So we try to engage our audience. And one of the ways that we measure our impact is through how many signups and how many impressions we have. And so as activists, I think it's super important that we always analyze our actions and take in the feedback from those actions to make sure that we're being the most effective that we can be. So at Generation Vegan, we are sure to always look at our social media and always improve the posts that we're making. One tip for all of you is, when posting on social media about animals, what's helped us, I think, is when I think it's important to point out the scale and scope of the issue, but what we like to do is also focus our posts on individual animals and individual stories, because that usually really pulls at people's heartstrings. I think when you hear a really large number, like 56 billion animals being killed every year for food, you don't actually associate that digit with individual souls, with individual beings that wanted to live, right? So we really try to focus our posts. You'll see like it's one individual's eye, or the camera focuses on that one individual to kind of show the larger picture of that big digit is just a sum of all those individuals. So what we try to also do is we really this year want to focus on increasing our challenge signups, kind of getting people in the door and letting them know that if we can go vegan, they can too, right? And all it takes is just that will to learn the information. So we tend to provide people with recipes, support groups, and there's a lot of studies that show that people actually stop being vegan because they don't want to feel like the odd one out. So that's one of the ways that we want to build a community to make sure that people feel that they are not alone. And not only that, but some people stop being vegan because they're actually just not eating properly, and then they don't feel good, and then they blame veganism for not eating a well-balanced diet. So we want to provide as much info as possible to help people stay vegan in the long term and ultimately be a voice for the animals. So obviously we are able to reach a lot of people on our platform, and over the years we've grown it, but we can't do it alone. We really need all of you guys and other vegans in this movement to share this and to get involved as well. So for some of our campaigns, we are out on the ground advocating. So for the Earthshot campaign, we actually went to the Plaza Hotel during Climate Week when Prince William went to this New York City, and we stood outside of the Plaza Hotel with a giant check. And we said, we are offering you this check, add the damn plant-based category. And our message was definitely heard. So just to kind of give you a visual of some of these pressure campaigns, this was the Rishi Sunak one. And it's, it's bold, it's colorful. We have our graphic designer, Rita, who's so talented. And I love that we have here, our planet is at stake, pun intended. And so it really goes to show that some artistic, creativity, it can reach a lot of people. We got a lot of media on this. So we had banners, we even went into the subway and had them having vegan for our future written all over the subway, the subway cars. And so this was a really, really successful campaign. We also do a lot of controversial billboards. So right here, we have every 30 minutes, we take as many lives as the Second World War took in 6 years. Which part of this makes you angry? So of course, people get worked up about this or they get mad, but it's true. We are taking as many lives. It says globally, we kill 70 billion land animals and 1 trillion sea animals for food per year. And you can look at this at animalclock.com. And we also had that in this location as well. So I think that there's many different forms of activism. I don't believe that there's really any wrong way to do it. I think the only wrong thing is if we're not speaking up. So we really try. I personally love the extremes of things, but I also love the educational route. And at Gen V, we try to advocate by storytelling and making things personal so people can relate to some of the messaging. So this was our recent success with Earthshot, and it's really great that we were able to get celebrity supporters as well. That's always super helpful when it comes to getting media and press. So thankful for Olivia Coleman, Emma Thompson, Mark Rylance, and everyone else on here. They're absolutely inspiring people, and they have definitely been helpful. And we have closed our nominations as of now, but for a couple weeks we had on our website, you could actually nominate your favorite company or organization to win the $1 million prize at Earthshot. And they had to be vegan, of course, plant-based. So when it comes to the power of visual storytelling, we focus on health-related stories. So the woman that you see on screen here, she actually reversed disease through a whole foods plant-based diet. And you can view her story on our website under one of our health blogs. We also tell individual stories about animals and rescue, because who doesn't love that? I mean, that's so cute. Even non-vegans will see that and be like, oh my gosh, they're so adorable. Like, maybe I should stop eating them. And I'm going to show you this powerful story with Matthew Glover, our founder, the myth, the legend, the man himself. And he actually went into a KFC farm after an influencer posted a video at this farm saying, look, it's beautiful here. The animals are enjoying their lives. We should keep eating KFC because there's nothing wrong with it. So Matthew actually took it upon himself to go to that exact same farm and investigate. So I'm going to play that for you. Let me know if you can hear it.
So we might get sued by KFC for this. As part of KFC's Behind the Bucket commitment to better chicken welfare, they invited Nico, a YouTuber, to come and visit one of the farms that supplies their restaurants.
Hello, my friends. I'm Nico, and I'm on a farm.
The video footage was shared extensively online as a paid promotion.
Looks incredible. Very well cooked.
We decided to go undercover to film at exactly the same farm.
Boat stitch. Let's get inside. Look at all those chickens.
There are a lot of birds here, 52,000 to be exact. KFC chose to bring Nico down here when the birds were really small and cute. They were maybe 15 to 20 days old. We've come back when they're 33 days old.
You really do care about these chickens, then? Yeah, we do.
Tony, what about these chickens? Do you care about birds like these three here who they've got to the point where they can't stand up anymore? Because the skeletons are so immature, they just can't handle the weight. So they get to a position where they just can't walk anymore. They can't feed.
Right, Tony, I want you to address a conspiracy theory that KFC pump chickens with steroids and make them huge. Nobody grows chicken like that.
Nobody in the animal protection movement claims that farmers are using steroids. Antibiotics, yes. And what we do object to is the selective breeding of these birds over decades so that the birds take on so much weight that they can no longer stand up.
Why do the chickens have a swing?
They don't, at least not when they're not expecting the camera crews here.
Fails the birds to pack out and all the enrichments that we put inside the shed.
We found one swing that they can reach, and that's for 52,000 birds.
And Tony, as well, there's no cages here. I thought there was like 4,000 chickens in one small cage. No, there is no cages.
I'm afraid Nico's getting confused with the egg industry, where even today they are still using cages for the hens. And how is it a lot different in the chicken industry? They have no access to the outdoors. They have no natural light. They're just stuck in these horrible factory farms for their whole lives.
We're very proud of our animal welfare here. The birds plenty of room to roam.
You tell me, do these birds have plenty of room to roam? Each bird has about as much room as an iPad or an A4 sheet of paper. How is that better than a cage?
We'll sprinkle fresh straw across the floor area for them to play with and sit on. Put that bale under my arm like that. And then I'll just chuck fresh straw on the floor.
It's not exactly straw. It's a mixture of wood chip and feces and urine. It doesn't get replaced. They just spend their lives sitting on their own excrement. And as a result of that, they get a lot of lesions. Oh, I was hoping we wouldn't find any dead birds, but this one. So KFC thinks it's acceptable for around about 4 or 5% of all birds to die in the farm. This one barn has 52,000 birds, which means that roughly 2,500 birds are going to die within 35 days of their life cycle. Is that acceptable?
We're very proud of our animal welfare here.
This is what we found outside the barns. Ooh.
KFC have been improving chicken welfare for years.
The reality is that over time, intensive chicken farming is getting worse. So Tony's not really a chicken whisperer. He's the farm manager of Park Farm North, Kettlethorpe near Lincoln. Now, this is one of Moy Park's flagship agricultural academies. Tony's farm is one of the best. That's why KFC came and filmed here. So you can imagine what the rest are like. KFC needs to commit to moving away from the intensive factory farming of chickens like this and work on a kinder, more sustainable, plant-based chicken commitment. So we might get sued by KFC for this, or Moy Park, who run the farm, or even Tony the chicken whisperer. But we feel that people want to know where their food comes from, and they deserve to know where their food comes from. And we don't think they want to buy food from places like this.
All right, I'll leave it at that. So this film, this story in particular, reached millions of people. And that's really the goal. I mean, we're up against false advertising and misinformation. And so sometimes we have to take it upon ourselves to actually go investigate these places ourselves. So for years and years and years, storytelling has been used to hand down learning and knowledge for a long time. And so good storytelling, it engages our curiosity, it's emotional, it makes us think, and most importantly, it can bring about change. So I want to give you guys a few examples of just over time throughout history, how stories have been used to distort our view. So the marketing by the meat industry, perfect example. They have told us that we need meat to feel manly, right? I'm like, I think that's the least manly thing you can do, right? If you have strength and you're strong, why would you want to hurt the weak, the vulnerable, the innocent, you know? So that's one story that's been told. How men eat, and then it's like a pot of animal flesh. So these are just some marketing by the meat industry that they like to put out there. Not only that, but the dairy industry has told us that cows are happy. Oh my gosh. Or have you guys seen the laughing cow, right? That they're smiling and they're happy, when we know that the reality is that the only way that cows produce milk is because they have babies, and their babies have to be taken away from them, and they have to be milked, hooked up to milking machines in order to produce that cheese, that dairy, that ice cream. And every single cow in the dairy industry ends up at the slaughterhouse. I mean, the dairy industry has even gone as far as to make lactated milk, right? Milk that it makes it easier for people to digest. Meanwhile, we know that I think it's over 70% of people are actually lactose intolerant, but they're so desperate that they actually have to create this product, as opposed to just saying, hey, there's hundreds of other milks you could be drinking, such as almond milk, hemp milk, rice milk, soy milk, oat milk. But no, it's all about money. They put profits over ethics. This is another, we all know the Got Milk campaign. This is a story that's been pushed on us for God knows how long. And they use celebrities even to try to promote dairy. So they did the milk mustache, and milk gives you strong bones. I mean, how many of us have heard that story? So the dairy industry, or similar to the dairy industry, the egg industry also does this. If you guys have, seen undercover footage inside of egg hatcheries, we know that this free range, natural goodness is far from the truth of where eggs come from. And even if, let's say, dairy cows or egg laying hens did live in the grass and they did experience kindness from humans, it still doesn't excuse the fact that they all end up at the slaughterhouse at the end of the day. Once they are no longer profitable to the industry, their lives are taken from them. And it's this cycle of perpetuating that exploitation of their bodies. And I love the chant when we go to protests, their bodies, not ours. And that's really what it comes down to. So we want to tell stories, and we do this at Generation Vegan, that can disrupt this facade. And we have to break down these years and years and years of social conditioning, of deep social conditioning. From the moment that we're born, we are taught to love some animals and to eat others, when really there's no difference between dogs and cats, cows, pigs, turkey, chickens, and fish. They all possess the ability to feel pain. They all suffer. They all feel happiness and joy, and they all have a right to be here just like we do. So some of my favorite stories that can help to disrupt the facade and get people thinking is Okja. It's a fictional film on Netflix, and it tells the story of a young girl who lives on a farm with her grandfather, and they're given a new type of alternative protein. It's called a super pig, which is what Okja is. And they're supposed to raise the pig until she reaches the weight of slaughter, and then they ship her off to be sold. And it kind of, I don't want to give away too much, but it shows the bond between this young girl and her companion, and how, despite the species, even if we're told, but this animal's supposed to be raised for food, that really there's not a difference between this animal and our companion animals, and that she should have the right to live too. Another really great film is this doc. It's called My Octopus Teacher. This film won many awards. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. It really points out the sentience of these animals that we are consuming. And one of the reasons that people continue to exploit them is because they like to say, oh, well, they're dumb. They don't feel anything. Oh, they're not that smart. When really the truth is that if we actually acknowledged the intelligence of these creatures, I think it would be a lot harder to do the things we do to them. Another example of storytelling is this film called 73 Cows, and it shows how a farmer transitioned his farm to a sanctuary, and he stopped killing animals for profit. And it's beautiful because it really shows that switch of he was conditioned his whole lives, you know, coming from generations of farmers, and then something ultimately woke him up. So we also have kind of what you saw similar to the Matthew Glover KFC piece. We also use to tell some of these stories. You see here, actress Rooney Mara. We also have one with Joaquin Phoenix where he rescued a dairy calf. And this was it's just such a beautiful, heartwarming story. And this is Matthew's film, of course, which reached many people, as I showed you. So these stories, they unite us. And I think when it comes to creating viral content, we want to look for stories that have some kind of hook, whether it's relevant, newsworthy. So when I was making one of my films, when I was at the film company before Gen V, one of the films we worked on was called The Fight to Ban Live Animal Markets. And the news hook was, during COVID, everybody's pointing at China for the wet markets that they have there and the outbreak of COVID-19. And we looked at each other and we said, well, what about the 80+ live animal wet markets in New York City? And so we made a film called The Fight to Ban Live Animal Wet Markets, which told the story and had undercover footage inside these horrific places of violence here in New York, where people wouldn't expect them to be. So what is that? What is that hook? Also, controversy always tends to do well. So if you're looking to post something on social media that will spread, or you're looking to create a film, I always suggest opening with some kind of controversy, because it does help people get hooked on it. When people are scrolling, you know, they go so fast that unless they see something interesting, likelihood is they're not going to stop. So an example of a controversial piece that I was a part of was, I went to a slaughterhouse vigil where we were giving animals water before they took them inside. And myself and a few other activists got into a little bit of a heated discussion with the farmer, and a filmmaker caught this on camera. And that opening scene was kind of that controversy between us and the farmer. And then that short film, it's called The Save Movement by Cave Light Films. If you want to look that up, that piece reached over 20 million people worldwide, and it shed light on what conditions these animals are in as they're being trekked to their deaths. So we really love at Gen V to also show the connection of veganism and other movements, and the intersectionality of just liberation in general. So many of you guys know Christopher Eubanks. He's amazing. We do interviews with all sorts of activists that share their perspective and their background on why and how they went vegan. Oh my gosh, I love Gwenna Hunter. She's amazing. She runs Vegans of LA and does all sorts of food drives, and she talks about how until all are free, none are free, and how we need to unite together against injustice in whatever way that may be. So this is another example of storytelling where we take someone like this man here, and he shared how after suffering really serious health issues pertaining to his heart, he ended up having really no choice but to go vegan. And this is kind of the story of how he healed his body inside out. And these stories are great for social media because we try to keep them under 5 minutes, and then we pull little social clips from those stories. And one of my favorites, you guys know her, Chef Babette, over 70 years old. She is advocating for a plant-based lifestyle and the benefits of it. She's strong, beautiful. She's in this for the animals, and she's really a great person to follow. And her story is super inspiring, and it shows how you can go vegan at any age, really. And also this is how we want to show how veganism is for everybody. So in this story right here, this actor shares how veganism and disabilities are actually connected. Also, we want to show the intersectionality of speciesism and homophobia. So these are the queens. We love them. And we do a debunk series with them at Gen V. So we'll ask a question of, well, can you get enough protein on a vegan diet? And they'll answer it. And I think when we fight for one being, we want to fight for all beings and stop being so judgmental, right? And just let others exist and live their lives how they want to live them. And so, yeah, these are some of our personal stories. Also, our CEO, I just want to shout her out. She's at the top right corner, Naomi Hallam. This is her with her little baby, Scarlett. And she shares her story of being a vegan mother and what that's like, feeding her child a plant-based diet, what a vegan pregnancy was like. And she's super inspiring to mothers who are raising vegan kids. So really, we have to come together, and I am so appreciative of all of you for taking the time out of your Sunday to join me here today and to learn a little bit more about how we can be more effective as a movement, how we can tell stories, and ultimately work together to achieve animal liberation. So I think, this is one of those things where we need to focus our efforts on many different categories and realize that there's no right or wrong way to do this. We just got to try our best and not criticize each other, but always offer constructive feedback and grow from there. Together, we are only growing as a movement. We need to remain optimistic. I fully believe that the future will be vegan, hopefully in our lifetime. If not in our lifetime, we are the reason that less animals are going to suffer, because we are already starting to see so many different strides. And always remember that your voice is so much more powerful than you think it is. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody's listening to me, right? It's like, so you feel like you're in an echo chamber a little bit, but I promise you, there's always those people in the corner that are listening that you are affecting and that you are changing their lives, really benefiting their health, benefiting the planet, and of course the animals. And there's 3 stages of truth, which this slide is really interesting. A lot of the time, people at first, they just don't want to hear it. They can't be bothered. And then the second stage is where they actually oppress the truth violently. Like they get aggressive, defensive, and mean. And that actually is the last stage until they ultimately change. I think it's more concerning when somebody doesn't have a reaction to these things. And when you start getting those bacon comments rolling in on your social media and those nasty comments, which most of us deal with all day long, it's actually good because it means we're reaching outside of our vegan circle, and we're actually reaching the people we want to reach. And they felt triggered by that message, that they felt so triggered that they actually had to comment. And they actually had to put a steak emoji on the thing. It's like, really? Okay, clearly you're upset by the message. And the final stage is acceptance. And that's what happened to me. I remember when I was, before I went vegetarian, I was pescatarian. And one of my friends said to me at the time, she goes, I just find it really odd that you consume fish, but you advocate for all other animals. It's really hypocritical, actually. And I was like taken aback. And I remember doing my closing my eyes. I remember getting angry about it and defensive. And then finally I thought about it and I accepted it. And I said, oh, well, actually she is right. And now I'm vegan. And I think with any cause, any social justice movement, it's always, always important to remain optimistic. We have to have our hope, because why else are we fighting? And we each have a place in the movement. So even when some actions fail or some actions don't feel like we're getting out there enough, have hope, because the truth always prevails and injustice does not last forever. And I love this quote: hope is important because it can make the present moment less difficult to bear. If we believe that tomorrow will be better, we can bear a hardship today. Thank you. And I wanted to leave some time for some questions. Let me stop sharing this. Okay.
Awesome presentation, Jamie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Were there any questions?
A lot of comments on chat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Paige is going to ask you a question.
Hey, Paige.
Okay. We cannot hear you yet. Okay, ask to unmute.
Thank you. I was trying to unmute. Hey, Jamie.
Hey.
I'm so glad you came to speak to this group. And this will be on many different channels, y'all, afterwards. They'll be making new content from these presentations. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. Hey, so my question is, what was it like? What's it like getting arrested? I do need to bring that up because I don't think I could put myself in a situation where I were going to, but I believe it is a really great way to bring about more attention to why we're so passionate about what we do, as wanting to get the information out. So what are your thoughts on that? And thank you for the work you do.
Thank you, Paige. Yeah, so most recently, myself and 4 other activists stormed into Grand Central Station in New York City, and we did an art installation and a demo that raised awareness about what happens to dairy cows. So we dressed as if we were hooked up to milking machines, and we held signs that said milk is inhumane. And we were arrested yesterday. We were handcuffed and put in a holding cell, and they process us, and we have to go to court in February. And it's definitely scary. And I think, I just tried to keep in mind, if this is something that's going to change even just one person or make waves to get the message out there, then that is definitely what I'm willing to do. And in my post on Instagram, I said, these cows never experience freedom. They never feel grass underneath their feet. So a few hours of me being locked up, it doesn't even compare to the suffering that they go through. And so I think being put in those handcuffs, it was kind of like the first time I had felt that lack of freedom that these animals feel every single day and every single second of their lives.
Wow, that happened yesterday, Jamie?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here. What can I say? It's amazing. You talk about optimism, and Glenn Mercer has said that optimism is one of the macronutrients that we need to survive, I really think he's right.
We have a few hands.
BJ, you're on next.
Thank you. And I see somebody else's hand is up physically, so I don't want to miss.
Reverend Betla is on next, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. My question is, how do people contact you and get involved? And you've done so much, and you're so good at spreading the message. What would you recommend to us and for us to share to other people? Thank you.
That's such a great question. Thank you. And thank you for being here. There's so many different ways to get involved. So obviously not everybody's comfortable getting arrested and doing demos like that. But even wearing a shirt like animal rights in a grocery store, that to me is activism. You got your herbivore shirt on, perfect. Yeah. And even standing outside with your own sign, like that's activism. Connecting with other vegans is activism. I think I hear like a little buzz. Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, I muted.
Okay.
Go.
And so the way that people can contact me, you can go to my website. I'll put it in the chat. It's jamiescorner.com. You can shoot me an email, or you could message me on Instagram. I try to go through my messages as much as possible, but email is usually better. It's jamiescorner.com. Or you could reach me here. I'll just put my email, genv.org. So you have that. And yeah, there's many different ways for people to get involved. I mean, being that I'm in New York City, we have events happening weekly here. There's also meetups where we get together, we'll go out to dinner. So not everything is like hardcore activism, but we do focus a lot on anti-fur stuff and getting designers to drop fur here in New York. And there's, yeah, always all sorts of demos. I like to go out in the streets and film. So if anybody's here in New York and wants to help me do that, I would appreciate you, because sometimes I go out by myself and that is not so fun. But also we give out leaflets. I have so many leaflets lying around here. So definitely connect with other vegans in your city. And once you go to one action, I feel like you then meet other people and one thing kind of leads to the next. Like that's sort of what happened with me when I got involved in activism. I started off going to Anonymous for the voiceless cubes, and then I met people that were doing demos and protests, and then I met people that were doing vigils, and so I started going to those things, and then next thing you know, you're doing things like storming the coach runway. And
Right.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Reverend Butler. Hold on.
I don't mute.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jamie. That was extremely inspiring. I really appreciate the tips about good storytelling and the work that you're doing. I'm very curious about, as a person who runs a nonprofit, I'm really curious about how you guys get funding for Gen V.
Definitely. So I think with Gen V, we have donors. We are mainly funded off of that.
Okay. And do you have like a strong donor base of some kind of major donors? Is that?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
there's like one or two major ones.
Oh, okay.
I'm not super in the loop about that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Gen V actually sponsored the Oxford Union debate also.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jamie?
There's a question in the chat about what's happening at Kentucky Fried Chicken, that they're no longer offering the plant-based options that someone, I don't remember who put the question in the chat, was enjoying. Do you have any information about that, Jamie?
I don't know too much about it. I never actually even went there to try the vegan chicken because I don't like them to begin with. But yeah, it's frustrating because it's like, okay, at the very least offer an option for, vegans that want to go there. So I don't know too much more about that, but usually these things come and go. They test it out to see if they're going to make money on it. I don't believe these companies actually give a damn one way or the other if people are eating the plant-based versus the animal products, since they kill millions of animals every year. So yeah, I think what would be really cool is if KFC eventually committed to going 100% plant-based.
Right.
Not there yet, but one day.
Right. So another question in the chat is, well, the app Gen V Rewards is like Climate Healers Goals as well. Did you guys collaborate?
Do we? I don't think that's us, the Gen V Rewards. I don't think we have
It's
an
not
app.
yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paige is asking, what's next for you?
So what's super exciting is I just launched a new podcast called Just So You Know with actress Justina Adorno. It's a new PETA podcast, and we really delve deep into different topics and issues affecting animals. So it's more of like a history podcast if you're learning to learn new information. So our first episode was about Elon Musk and the Neuralinks, which are the brain implant chips that he's trying to plant into people's heads. And we talked about the animal testing that occurred for those chips to be made. And we interviewed a specialist in animal research, and she shared some alternatives to animal testing that are even more effective. So that was our first episode. Our second episode was about the leather industry's dirty secret, which is that they too use plastic. So the leather industry likes to come at vegan leathers for using plastic, yet they themselves don't share how much plastic they're really using. So we're really trying to call out different corporations and individuals who abuse animals and expose them. So they put profits over ethics, and that's kind of what the podcast is about. It's called Just So You Know.
Just so you know. Okay. Would you have one on processed meat and versus them calling out processed vegan food?
I just did an episode. So I also have my own podcast, which is called Jamie's Corner. And if you go to, you can listen to it on anything, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. My latest episode was actually about cultivated meat. So if you want to learn more about that, how that works, what it is, the scale, the scale, scope of it, the future of it, that's a great episode to check out. But yeah, when it comes to processed meat, I mean, that's a whole episode in itself, and how they're actually putting out so much misinformation. The meat industry is threatened by the plant-based industries, that they're putting out this misinformation about plant-based.
Alexa, stop. Oh, so sorry.
No worries. So yeah, it's a huge problem. And I think that would be a great episode in itself to look into, like maybe the first plant-based meat, and then different tactics that the meat industries use to try to steer people off course. You hear the same damn excuses from meat eaters. Oh, that vegans kill the same amount or more animals that meat eaters do, which is false. You hear, oh, well, soy gives you boobs. False.
Right.
You know, the same other 5 ones. So it just shows the brainwashing that goes on in these industries.
Right. Yeah. Gabriel?
Yeah,
I thought it was
hi.
appropriate that you were saying Alexa stop at the same time.
It's to remind me to do something. Sorry,
Alexa's listening.
It was to remind me to do something for the convergence. Anyway, that was really a great presentation, Jamie. I really appreciate all that you're doing and all that Gen V is doing, and I'm going to join you in one way or another. But I was just curious. I think it was the founder who went to the KFC facility, and he said a couple of times that we'll probably get sued. Was he actually sued? And then I have another question.
Sure. So no, I don't think he was. And a lot of the reason behind that, I think, is because they didn't want to draw any more attention to the expose.
Well, I think that's good, because that means that others can do that and hopefully not have repercussions.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then my other question was, you said you got arrested yesterday, and from what you described, it didn't sound like that was an arrestable offense. What was your charge?
So we were charged with a few different things. My charge was prohibited use. I don't know. And when we were being arrested, I said, what am I being detained for? And they couldn't tell me. And we had others that were arrested for blocking foot traffic. So she was lying down on the ground. We had a bullhorn. So that was like disorderly conduct. And then the other one was something like non-commercial activity, something like, I don't even know. They didn't, it made no sense. So we will be going
Really
to court.
sounds like it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, we got citations, so we have to go to court for it, but
When is your court date?
it's February 15th. And I said to the officers, so when I was in a cell with my friend Justina, the girl that I'm actually hosting the Just So You Know podcast with, and the officers loved us by the end of it. I mean, we were outreaching them and trying to give them, information about dairy and how bad it is. And so when they gave us our court date, it was Valentine's Day. And we were like, hold up. We're like, Valentine's Day, really? February 14th? And we were like, we can't do that. Like, we have plans. And so then the officer was like, oh, that must actually be a mistake. So they took it back. And I was like, you could just change the 4 to a 5, so I'm hoping that these charges are dropped before the 15th, because it is it's so ridiculous. We were peaceful. We were trying to leave when they asked us to leave. And I guess we didn't leave fast enough, and they arrested us. So, yeah.
Well, if it does go to court, I think Jane Velez Mitchell would like to cover it.
Oh, I'm sure. Is Jane on here? Where is that woman?
Probably not, but we can let her know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
any other last thoughts you want to leave us with? How
Yeah,
can we help you?
definitely. Well, I'm just so appreciative and thankful for all of you for being dedicated to fighting this cause, and just, use your own personal stories to inspire others. Because the way that I advocate is personal to me, and I'm going to reach certain people, but each and every one of you have unique stories that can help advocate for the animals and reach other people that I can't reach. So thank you all so much. And just keep in mind, always remember that doing nothing is no good. I love that Regan Russell quote. Doing something is always helpful. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jamie.